My name is Caroline Hargrove. I'm 34 and the call came at 3:19 in the morning on a Thursday in late October. My mother's overnight nurse was on the line. She said, "She's asking for you by name. Your brother mentioned you transferred to Colorado." I had been sitting in my mother's room at the care facility 11 hours earlier. I had never set foot in Colorado. What I found on the bedside cabinet 31 minutes later is the reason I'm telling you this story at all. I won't describe it yet. I want you to see it the way I saw it, in the order I saw it, because the order is the part that matters. Before I take you back, do me a favor, hit subscribe and tell me in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is there. I read everyone. Now let me take you back to the night my brother flew in, and the 4 weeks that turned my mother's last room into something I almost lost. The drive from my building to the care facility was 19 minutes when the signals cooperated and 24 when they didn't. I had measured it. I had measured a lot of things by then. The 4th floor of the facility smelled like warm towels and pine cleaner, a smell that used to be my elementary school nurse's office. There was a hot water dispenser at the far end of the corridor that took 2 presses to pour. The second press always made a sound like a small surprised exhale. I filled 2 cups every night. One for me, one I poured down the sink. The second cup was a habit I never explained to myself. My mother was Rosemary Hargrove. She had taught 4th grade for 28 years. Her hands still knew how to hold a pen even when her shoulders did not, and she still corrected the way I formed my lowercase letters. Pancreatic cancer is the kind that arrives without warning and moves without mercy. By the time we knew, the timeline was 5 to 9 weeks. She reached the care facility on a Monday. I came in Monday night. I had come in every night since. The leather of my passenger seat was warm in September and cool in October, and I had come to know the small beep of the entry gate the way some people know the ring of their own doorbell. The overnight staff knew my car. The maintenance worker knew my car. I had parked in the same row, second space from the light post, 44 times in 46 nights. And then 3 Wednesdays before my brother flew in. He told me he was there for however long it took. I thought at the time that was a generous thing to say. Most things sound generous when you need them to. Garrett was 40. He lived out west. He worked in real estate. Or he had until recently. The details shifted when he told them. I had not learned to listen for the shifting yet. He took the morning shift more or less. I took the evenings. We didn't overlap much. That was, I would learn later, the entire point. Sandra Pelham worked the midnight to 8 shift at the 4th floor care station. She had been there 11 years. She kept 2 pens at her desk, a black gel for the medical chart and a red ballpoint for what she called everything else. She used the red one for the visitor record. She logged time of arrival, time of departure and a short note. She had logged mine 43 times. The first night I came in after Garrett's arrival, Sandra looked up from her record and smiled. The kind of smile that doesn't land in the eyes accidentally. It was a professional smile, a care station smile. "You're 43 for 45, she said. "The overnight cleaner asks about you." "I missed a Saturday and a Monday," I said. "Work deadline." Mom understood. Sandra made a mark in the log. "She's awake. He's in there with her." I went down the corridor. The room was 408. The door was open the way it always was by facility rule. The lamp on the far wall was on the lowest setting, the one that turned everything the color of warm honey. Garrett was in the visitor's chair. He was wearing a pressed button-down. He smelled like cedar and something citrus. A man wearing cologne in a care facility room is a man who hasn't sat in one long enough. He was closing his laptop. He closed it in one smooth motion when I walked in. The way you close something you don't want examined. He stood. He hugged me. He said, "Caro, I've been handling the paperwork. Don't stress about any of it." "What paperwork?" "Insurance, intake forms, the administrative stuff. You've got too much going on." I didn't have anything going on. What I had going on for 45 nights was this room. But I didn't say that. I rubbed Mom's wrist. Her hand was cool. Her eyes opened. "There you are," she said. "There I am." She closed them again. Garrett watched me watch her. Then he watched the door. He had been watching the door before I came in, too. The lamp clicked softly on the dimmer. "Stay as long as you want," he said. "I'll go find something to eat." He didn't find something to eat. He went to the parking lot and took his laptop with him. The bedside drawer in room 408 had a laminate top that caught on the second inch of travel. I knew this because I had opened it every night to leave the day's post and the nightly cup of warm broth that Mom never drank. On the third Thursday after Garrett flew in, I opened the drawer and found something I had not put there. It was a journal spiral-bound, the kind teachers used to buy at the school supply store before everything went digital. The cover was a faded green with the year printed in silver. Mom's name was written inside the front cover in her classroom slant. Rosemary L. Hargrove. The letters tilted right the way she had taught her fourth graders to shape their cursive since 1993. I sat down. I opened it. She had been writing in it. Recently, not every day but most. A short entry in her careful hand for each date. The medication had not taken her writing yet, only slowed it. I turned to the previous Wednesday. Caroline brought soup, stayed past 9. Thursday, Caroline brought the puzzle magazines. Friday, Caroline stayed late. We watched the rain come in. Saturday, Garrett called, did not visit. Sunday, Caroline. Garrett argued in the corridor about something. Caroline left at 10:30. Closed it. I put it back in the drawer. I sat with my hand on the drawer for a minute. I thought at the time it was tender. I thought she was keeping a small record of her final weeks the way she had kept attendance for 28 years. I thought my mother is the kind of woman who notes down who came. That was all. I did not think she was noting it down for a reason. That was my error. I will not pretend otherwise. When Garrett came back from the parking lot, he was on his phone. He saw me, ended the call, offered the small ready-made smile. I might stay another week, he said. There's a lot that needs handling. Handling what? Just the estate side of things, the preparatory paperwork. You don't need to carry any of that. I said okay the way you say okay when you have no interest in continuing. He didn't notice the difference. He had stopped noticing differences in my voice the year before our father died and had never restarted. The care aide's name was Priya. She was new to the floor. She was kind the way new staff are kind, carefully and with steady eye contact. On the Saturday of the fourth week, I arrived early, around 10 in the evening, and she was at the linen rack outside 408. She brightened when she saw me. Oh, she said. Mrs. Hargrove's sister from Colorado. He said you were flying in this evening. We weren't expecting you until later. I did not move for a second. I used the measured half-smile I had kept on my face through 11 years of client meetings when someone presented a number that was plainly wrong. I live 20 minutes away, I said. I have been here every night since she was admitted. Priya's expression shifted. She looked at the clipboard in her hand. She looked at me. Oh, I'm so sorry. Mr. Hargrove told us you had relocated for your job in September. He's been telling the staff you weren't able to come. I'm so sorry. No, it isn't your fault. Could you tell me where Sandra is? Sandra was at the care station. She had a fresh coffee and the visitor record open in front of her. I didn't say anything. She looked up. She read whatever was on my face. She turned the record around so I could see it. 43 nights. Then she pulled out a second binder, what she called the floor communication log, and opened it to the entries from September 9th onward. Garrett had told the day staff I had relocated. He had told the social worker. He had told the admissions coordinator. He had told 2 care aides. He had been telling everyone for 4 weeks. I sat down in the rolling chair beside her station. I did not cry. I was a senior financial analyst at a regional firm. I did not cry at a work desk. I had not cried at one since I was 24. Sandra said quietly, "If you ever need this record, sweetheart, the log is the log." I nodded. I drove home at 5:40 that morning. I didn't sleep. I drank 2 cups of tea. I called my cousin Diane at 7 a.m. sharp. She picked up on the first ring. I think she had been expecting a call from someone for a long time. I just hadn't known I was the someone. The call came on a Thursday. I had taken a Wednesday night off, the first one in 2 weeks, because Diane had told me to rest, and I had lied to myself about being able to. I had set my phone on the nightstand on silent, except for 2 numbers. The facility line was one of them. It rang at 3:19 a.m. The screen went white. I picked up before the second ring. "Caroline, it's Sandra." "Yes. Your mother is asking for you by name. Your brother left before midnight." He told the front desk you wouldn't be in. I'm coming. I figured. I pulled on jeans. I did not brush my hair. The streetlights on Route 7 were blinking amber at that hour, slow and even for nobody. I made 24 minutes in 19. I parked second from the lamppost. The entry gate beeped. Room 408 was lit only by the bathroom light. The door was open 4 inches. I pushed it wider. My mother was lying on her right side the way she preferred. Her lips were moving. She was saying my name in the slow loop people settle into in their last hours. Caroline, Caroline, Caroline. Like a record that had forgotten the rest of the song. I'm here, I said. I'm here, Mom. Her eyes fluttered. They closed. I sat in the visitor's chair. The chair had a worn depression in the cushion where Garrett had sat. I noticed the depression was on the right side, the side closest to the bedside cabinet. I noticed the cabinet had something on it I had not seen there before. A yellow legal pad. Top page covered in handwriting. A strip of light fell across it from the corridor like someone had set down a ruler made of gold. I leaned forward. I read the first line. I read the second line. My hands moved from warm to cold in a way that was very quiet and very certain. I did not read the rest right then. I took out my phone. The first photograph was at 3:31 a.m. The room was so still I could hear the shudder in my own throat. I shifted to get a clean angle on each page and took 5 more. Then I put my phone in my pocket and sat with my mother's hand in mine and waited for morning. I did not read the document twice. Once was all it took. I read it at 6 a.m. in the 4th floor family lounge with a paper cup of machine brewed tea that I did not finish. 4 pages of yellow legal pad written in a single sitting, by the look of the pressure and slope. The opening line. I, Rosemary Lorraine Hargrove of sound mind, leave the entirety of my estate, real and personal, to my son Garrett James Hargrove. The body was 4 pages. It listed the house, a modest investment account, savings, the contents of the safe deposit box at the credit union. It named no other heir. It named no daughter. It named no Caroline. The signature on the last page was my mother's. Trembling, uneven, the kind of signature a person makes when the hand no longer fully answers the will. I knew that tremor. I had watched her sign a care directive update 3 weeks earlier when the case coordinator came for the renewal. The tremor was real. The signature was hers. The body of the will was not. My brother had a tell. He had had it since secondary school. His lowercase g looped too wide, the tail of it swinging out past the margin like it was reaching for something. My mother's G was a tidy closed curve that finished where it started. Her G had been that way since 1993. I knew this because my refrigerator held a full year of her handwritten grocery lists. I had kept them since I moved out at 23. The GS gave him away. There were 51 of them across 4 pages. Every single one was Garrett's. I sat in the lounge for a long time. The tea went cold. The medication dispenser down the corridor clicked every 7 minutes. I began counting them between paragraphs as I copied the will line by line into the notes application on my phone. Backup. Always backup. I am a financial analyst. I have kept backups my entire career. When I finished, I went back to room 408. Mom was lightly asleep. Her hand was resting open on the sheet. I held it. She murmured something low. 3 syllables. Faint. It might have been thank you, sweetheart. I'll never be certain who she meant. I'd like to think it was me. I'd like to think it didn't matter who. I waited for Garrett. He came back at 7:10. He had a paper cup from the drive-thru at the highway junction, the one with the orange sign. He was wearing a quarter zip. He looked rested. He had slept. I had not slept in 29 hours. I met him in the car park. I did not go up to the room. Caro, he said. What are you doing out here? I have the photographs, I said. He stopped. His face did what faces do when they are computing a new approach very quickly. It went still for about 2 seconds. I watched it the way you watch a slow exposure. Then it resettled. Caro, listen. Mom's been disoriented for weeks. She wanted things written down. She asked me to help her put it in order. In your handwriting? I was holding the pen for her. She told me what to write. All 4 pages. She'd tire easily. And the GS. He blinked. He hadn't planned for the GS. He looked briefly at his own hand around the coffee cup. He set the cup on the boot of his hire car. His breath made a small cloud in the October air, and the cloud was thinner than mine. Caro, he said. He started again. I know how this looks. But I'm in trouble. Simone took most of what I had. There's a situation at work. I just need some time. Mom would want. Mom keeps a journal, Garrett. What? She has been writing in it the entire time she has been here. She knows who visited. She knows who didn't. She knows you weren't there Friday. She knows we argued in the corridor Sunday. She knows what she signed and what she hasn't. She knows. He didn't answer. The coffee cup tipped slowly off the boot and dripped onto the tarmac. Neither of us picked it up. I'll be back at 8, I said. For what? That isn't your question to ask anymore. I drove home. I did not cry on the drive. I waited until I reached my kitchen and I cried for about 4 minutes. Then I called Diane. She had been waiting since 7 the morning before. Diane Calloway was 43. She was a probate paralegal in the neighboring county. We had been close as children and politely distant as adults the way cousins grow. She listened to me describe the legal pad without saying anything for the first 4 minutes. Then she said one word. Holographic. What? That's what it's called. A holographic will. Handwritten. Some states recognize them. Ours does. But there's a specific requirement. Tell me the requirement. The entire body has to be in the testator's own hand. Every line. Not just the signature. If the body is in Garrett's writing, the instrument is void on its face. Not contestable. Void. Diane, is that certain? It's certain. I've seen 4 tossed in the last 3 years. Probate courts are exacting about this. The law on holographic instruments is one of the cleanest provisions on the books. How do I establish it's his writing? A forensic document examiner. There's one in the region worth using. Elaine Cordero. I'll send you her number. And you need a probate attorney. Not me, I'm not licensed in your county. You want Thomas Garfield. He's methodical. He doesn't chase drama. He files on time. The court handles the rest. I wrote both names on the yellow legal pad I keep in my kitchen. My own legal pad. Yellow because the office supply store sells them at 2 for $5. I dated the top the way Mom always did. Diane. Yeah. Is he going to face criminal charges? She thought about it. She thought about it longer than I wanted her to. Probably not. Probate is civil. Criminal forgery is a different track. Prosecutors don't take holographic cases unless the sums are substantial. He'll just lose. Quietly and on the record. The way these things tend to go. That's enough. Is it? Yes. It has to be. I want the will voided. I want her last weeks left undisturbed. The rest of it I'll let go. Okay. Send me his email if he contacts you. She sent me both contacts. I emailed Thomas Garfield at 8:27 a.m. He replied at 10:02 with a single line. Bring documented samples of your mother's prior handwriting. I would like to file an emergency motion if your timeline permits. The Saturday after I emailed Garfield, my mother had a rally. The facility nurses had prepared me for this. Rallies are not recoveries. They are the body's last clear hour before the final descent. She woke at 2 in the afternoon the way a person wakes from genuine rest. Slow, present, unhurried. She turned toward me. Her eyes were her eyes again. Caroline. Mom. Sit closer. I moved the chair an inch. She placed her hand on mine. Her hand was warm for the first time in 10 days. The light was coming through the west window at a long angle, the kind of late autumn afternoon light that turns the inside of a room amber and unhurried. It came in at 4:15, exactly 6 minutes of gold before the rooftop took it back. I had timed it. I had timed everything. He keeps asking me to sign things, she said. I went still. What things, Mom? Different papers. Different days. I stopped reading them. I sign and he goes. She paused. She was breathing carefully. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I should have said something earlier. I thought I could just last him out. Mom, you don't apologize. He apologizes. He won't. I know. She closed her eyes for a moment. She opened them. The drawer. There's a journal. I've been writing in it every day since the week after I arrived. Take it home tonight. Keep it. It's yours. I opened the drawer. I brought the journal to the bed. She rested her palm on it. I made a list, she said. I'm a teacher. We always make lists. I opened it to the previous 2 weeks. Her writing was slower at the end, but I could read every word. 12 of 13 nights, Caroline. 4 entries for Garrett. 3 of the 4 said the same thing. Asked about money. You knew. I knew, sweetheart. I just didn't have the breath to fight him out loud. So I wrote it down the way I made the children write their spelling words. If you write it down, it's real. If it's real, it stays. Mom. Tell Mr. Garfield I said hello when you see him. I went to school with his wife. She smiled. It was the small private smile she had used when a child arrived at the right answer after a week of struggle. Then she fell asleep with the journal on her chest. I sat there until the amber light left the trees. If you have ever counted how many times you showed up when no one else was counting, tell me in the comments. Just the number. I'll read everyone. If you want to know how the final 3 weeks went, subscribe. There is a part 1 haven't told anyone yet. I scanned every page of the journal that night on my home printer, which I had not used since filing season. The machine made a sound like gathering itself for 22 straight minutes. 14 months of entries, 308 days with notations. Mom had not written every day but most. The medication had shortened her sentences as the months went on. That made them sharper, not softer. Brought soup. Stayed late. Garrett did not call. I cross-referenced with Sandra's visitor record the way I ran a quarterly reconciliation at work. 2 columns, date source. I matched 94%. The remaining 6% were nights Sandra had been away. Her stand-ins had kept less complete records, but the journal filled the gaps. 14 months of data. 2 independent sources. I emailed it all to Thomas Garfield at 11:42 that night. Diane called me just before midnight. She had spoken to Garfield before me. Caro, this isn't a record anymore. What is it? It's an exhibit. Don't email anything further. Why? Discovery. If you email documents, the other side can subpoena your inbox. If you walk them in on paper, you control the chain. Print 3 copies. Store them in 3 separate places. Don't email Garfield again until he says to. I printed 3 copies. I put one in my safe deposit box the moment the credit union opened the following morning. I put one in the locked drawer of my filing cabinet at the office. I put one in a sealed envelope under my mattress, which is exactly as inconvenient as it sounds and exactly as reliable. Garfield called Monday morning. Caroline. Yes, I have what you sent and what your cousin brought over in person. Paper is patient. Email is not. Don't send anything else by email. Understood. I'd like to file the petition Wednesday. I'd like an emergency hearing within 21 days. Your mother's prognosis supports that timeline. I'm sorry to phrase it that way. Don't apologize. She wouldn't. He paused. I went to school with her sister-in-law, you know. She told me to send her love. He paused again. That's a person, Caroline. That was a person. He ended the call. Derek Solano was the facility administrator. He was somewhere in his late 50s, measured, the kind of man whose desk had coasters on it and all of them were used. He called me into his office on a Wednesday morning. He had a pen he wasn't writing with. Caroline. Have a seat. Is she? She's resting. This isn't a medical matter. I have to follow procedure. I want you to know that is what I am doing. He turned a folder toward me. Inside was a petition my brother had filed with the facility's social services unit. Healthcare representation. He was alleging in clinical language that I was estranged, erratic, possibly harmful, and that my presence was causing patient distress. He was requesting that the facility limit my access to supervise visiting hours during the day shift only. He had attached 4 statements from staff. None were from Sandra. None were from the overnight chaplain. None were from anyone who had worked evenings with us. He wants to keep me out at night, I said. He wants to keep you out when he isn't here to observe, Derek said. I can't comment on that. I can only act on documentation. You have 48 hours to file a response. I will route it to the clinical director. She makes the decision. Derek. Yes. Have you read Sandra's notes? I have. Have you read the chaplain's log? He looked at me. He looked tired in a way that had nothing to do with me. Helen, I manage a unit where families bring their worst through the door. I do not get paid to take sides. But my clinical director reads the full chart. Lucky for both of us, your mother has spent her life writing things down. What does that mean? It means file your response. File it in writing. File it on time. Don't shout at anyone. Don't email this floor. Walk it in. Yes. And bring counsel's letterhead if you have it. It will save my director 2 phone calls. I had Garfield's letterhead. He had sent me a template the evening before. I filled it in at my kitchen table that night with the journal open beside me. I walked the response in at 8 a.m. Thursday. Derek signed for it himself. The facility chapel was on the ground floor. It was small for short pews on each side, carpet the shade of oatmeal, a row of electric candles in amber glass holders running on a timer that cycled them in an irregular sequence. One of the candles was 40 seconds out of step with the rest, and I liked it for that reason. It looked like it had reached its own conclusions. I sat there for 20 minutes the Friday after Derek's office. I did not pray. I had no practice of prayer to bring into the room. What I had was a need to be somewhere that had not been a negotiation. The chapel had not been a negotiation. It was the only space on the floor that hadn't. The chaplain came in around the 17th minute. She did not sit beside me. She sat in the row ahead of mine and did not turn around, which was the kindest thing anyone did for me that month. Her name was Judith Canmore. She went by Judy. She was in her late 60s, quiet faith, and had been at the facility for 14 years. Sandra had told me. I sit with your mother twice a week, she said after a while. Yes. She mentioned you. She mentions everyone. A pause. She mentioned a piece of paper. I went still. I looked at the back of her silver gray head. She did not turn around. He keeps bringing me papers, she said. I don't read them. I sign them so he leaves. She paused. I noted it in my chaplain log. Last Thursday. Same thing the week before. Judy. Yes. If you ever need to give a formal statement, Helen, I will sign one. I will not embellish it. I will write only what I recorded on the day I recorded it. That is all I can offer. That's enough. It usually is. People underestimate what enough looks like. She stood. She did not look at me as she passed. She placed her hand briefly on the back of my pew, and then walked out into the corridor. The candle that had been out of step caught up for a moment, then drifted again. I sat for another 5 minutes. Then I went back upstairs. Thomas Garfield's office was on the 2nd floor of a red brick building in the next town. The lift made a sound like a careful breath on the way up. He had a frosted door with his name in plain engraved lettering. Inside, his desk was clear. One good pen on the blotter. That was the moment I trusted him fully. He was 62. He wore a gray tweed jacket with worn elbows that were not decorative. He had a desk calendar with 3 colors of circle drawn around key dates. He shook my hand once. You brought the journal. Both copies. Good. Keep one. You keep one. The original stays in your safe deposit. Done this morning. Good. He had drafted 3 documents. An emergency petition to preserve all records relating to my mother's care, and any instrument purporting to represent her testamentary wishes. A motion to block transfer of healthcare authority. A request for an evidentiary hearing within 21 days. He slid them across for me to read. Will the court schedule the hearing in time? They'll schedule it. This county's probate calendar isn't congested. Your mother's prognosis is in the record. No judge wants a hospice case dragging on. How much? 6,000 retainer. We won't exhaust it. I file. I appear. I don't lose cases like this very often. That's not bragging. That's just paperwork delivered on time. I wrote the check. He took it without examining it, folded it once, and put it in the inside pocket of the tweed jacket. Caroline. One thing. Yes. From this point forward, your brother's communications go to me. If he calls, do not answer. If he writes, do not respond. If he leaves a voicemail, save it and forward the recording. If he comes to your door, do not open it. You may be civil. You cannot be conversational. He will attempt it. He drove by my building 2 nights ago. Save the log of that. Anything you noticed. Time and direction if you have them. The smallest details. Yes. And Caroline, yes. Your mother said to say hello. She told me you'd say that. He gave a small, brief smile and went back to the petition. Elaine Cordero's office was in a converted insurance unit on the first floor of a small business block. The previous tenant had left the walls in an institutional sage green that Elaine had never repainted. The space smelled of graphite and lemon cleaning fluid, the way my primary school library did before open evening. She was in her late 60s. She wore reading glasses on a cord. She had testified in 218 cases. She told me this without any ceremony, the way a librarian might describe her cataloging system. I gave her 3 items. The 4-page legal pad will original. 14 months of Mom's journal entries. 2 years of Garrett's lease and contract signatures pulled from the family records in the safe deposit box. She worked for 11 days. She did not contact me during those 11 days. She called on the 12th. Miss Hargrove. Yes. My findings preliminary pending court review. Yes. The signature on page 4 is consistent with Patricia Hargrove's documented hand. The tremor matches her recorded medication pattern. Yes. The body of the document is not consistent with her hand. Pages 1 through 4. Not in any sample I have. It is, however, highly consistent with Garrett Hargrove's formation. Slope, pressure, letter construction, cross-referenced against his signatures and 2 supplementary samples. How confident are you? Highly confident. That is the term I use when I mean in plain language certain. The affidavit will use the standardized expert phrasing. The court will hear consistent to a high degree of certainty. I do not write certain. I never write certain. But this is as close as my findings allow. Can you give evidence? I can. I prefer to appear by video. I am not young. Courtrooms are hard on the feet. Mr. Garfield has used me before. Thank you. Don't thank me. Handwriting tells the truth about the hand that made it the way a tire track tells about the wheel. I don't require a confession. I have what I have and I will say exactly what it shows. A pause. A different tone. Your mother's writing is a teacher's writing. Tilts at 86 degrees. Even in the final entries. Yes. I'm sorry. Mr. Garfield will have my report by Friday. She rang off. The call came at 3:41 a.m. On a Monday. Sandra's voice was different. Sandra's voice was ordinarily a steadying thing, reliable as a kept promise. Caroline, she's coding. We're stabilizing. Please drive carefully. Drive carefully. I drove. The rain was the kind that doesn't soak through. It only smudges the windscreen until you stop trying to clear it. I made 22 minutes in 18. I parked. I ran to the lift. I did not push the button twice. When you have run year-end audits at 3 a.m., you learn not to push things twice. The lift opened. Sandra was at the station. She held up one hand. She's stable. She's stable. She's tired, but she's stable, Caroline. Sit. The team is finishing. I sat. I sat for 35 minutes. The team came out at 4:23. Mom was sleeping. Mom was thinner than she had been on Thursday. The change was visible in a single day. The body knew. The body always knew before the family did. I sat with her until 8 a.m. I did not look at my phone until 8:20. There was a voicemail. Garrett. 12:03 the night before. Played it once. He said we needed to talk before things got complicated. He said he had driven by my building that evening. He said my car was there and I wasn't and he didn't know where I'd gone. He said he was trying to be sensible about this. He said we could resolve it with one signature if I would just call him back. He said don't do this. He had been outside my building while my mother was coding. I had been at her side. He had been at my door. I forwarded the voicemail to Garfield at 8:27. He replied at 8:29. Save it. Don't respond. Send a copy to my paralegal for the file, and keep the original on your phone until the hearing. I did all 3 within 10 minutes. I did not call him back. I did not text. I did not stand on my balcony looking down at the car park of my own building that evening, though I will tell you I thought about it. I went home. I slept 4 hours. I went back to the facility. I held my mother's hand. I did not mention the voicemail. I did not mention anything. I sat. The rain stopped. The morning came through. The dispenser clicked every 7 minutes. I counted them. I had time. 2 days before the hearing, Garfield called me at work. He never called me at work. Caroline, step somewhere private. What? Your brother filed a second instrument with probate this morning. Typewritten will, signed notaris, dated 16 months ago. Presence is clean. Thomas. I don't panic. Don't panic. Read me the notary commission number off the document. I'm sending you the scan. The scan came through. I opened it in the filing room. The notary stamp was precise. The commission number was 8 digits. I read them aloud. He was silent for just over a minute. I could hear him typing. Caroline. Yes. That commission lapsed 9 months before the date on this document. The notary was not renewed. Public record. The state licensing board has a free search page. The notary whose stamp appears here had no valid commission on the date they supposedly stamped it. What does that mean in practice? It means the typewritten instrument was not properly executed. A will requires a valid notary for the presumption of due execution. He doesn't get that presumption. The burden shifts to him. He has to prove this document is authentic through independent witness testimony. He won't. The witness signatures are illegible marks with no printed names beneath them. We can't even identify who they are to subpoena them. A pause. He's panicking, Caroline. He handed us a second forgery to disprove the first. That's the kind of error panic produces. Don't celebrate. We'll add this to the petition tonight. And Elaine. She noted it already in a supplementary review she submitted yesterday. The signature on the typewritten instrument matches the holographic signature. Same tremor pattern, same day. He used the same shaky signature he obtained from your mother. Photocopied it, held her hand, or signed it himself and tremored the pen. Elaine doesn't require which. The court will see it. I sat in the filing room for a moment. The ventilation system cycled on with a low hiss. Thomas. Yes. He's done. He was done 4 pages ago, Caroline. He just hasn't understood that yet. Judy Canmore lived in a quiet terraced house on the south edge of town. She had a small conservatory and a herb garden out the back and a tabby named Fern who moved between laps without ceremony. She had given me her home address the morning after our time in the chapel, written on the back of a facility card in a soft pencil. She'd said if I needed a written statement, her conservatory was more comfortable than the chapel and the cat had a sense for it. Come on a weekend afternoon. I went on a Saturday at 2:30. Fern settled on me immediately. Judy poured cold water with sliced cucumber into a glass that had a small painted lemon on the side. She brought out a small wooden cross from the sideboard and set it beside a yellow legal pad on the table. The cross isn't decorative, she said. It's just where I write. I write near it. I don't interpret what it signifies for others. She had already drafted the affidavit in longhand on the legal pad. I read it. It listed 3 dates. On each date, she had recorded a statement my mother had made to her about Garrett. The statements were brief. They were exact. They were dated, noted at the time, and signed into the chaplain log she had kept for 14 years. First, he brings papers and asks me to sign. I sign so he leaves. Second, I've stopped reading what they are. My eyes tire quickly. He says they're to do with the insurance. Third, he told the staff Caroline had gone. He's lying. I taught children for 28 years. I know lying. She had typed the affidavit that morning on her home computer, then had it signed before a notary at the branch bank on the high street, on her way to my visit. The notary, she mentioned calmly, had a current commission. Verified before the appointment. Witnessing isn't taking a side, she said. It's refusing to pretend you didn't see. Thank you. Don't thank me. Finish the water. Finished it. Fern slept. The conservatory had a ceiling fan that turned in silence. I drove the affidavit to Garfield's document box that evening without stopping to reconsider. The night before the hearing, I sat with my mother. She was very thin. She was very still. But in the way the dying sometimes are in their final days, she was sharp in the moment she was present. Bring me the journal tomorrow. Mom, it's an exhibit. I can't remove it from the court's possession the same day. Garfield keeps it overnight. I want to hold it tomorrow evening. And after, I want to know it ended up where I sent it. Yes. She closed her eyes. The dispenser clicked. I counted 5 clicks. I taught 4th grade for 28 years, sweetheart. You think I don't know what a document looks like? I know. I know, Mom. Caroline. Yes. You have been here every night. Yes. Don't make a speech tomorrow. Let the paperwork speak. Paper is patient. Speeches wear you out. Yes, Mom. She slept. I sat. The ventilation ran its 14-minute cycle. The medication pump counted time. I knew this room better than I knew my own flat. Garfield called at 9 on the dot. Everything was filed. Exhibits submitted. Elaine on standby by video. Sandra on the witness list. Judy on the list in reserve. Notary lapse record filed. Signature samples filed. Visitor record filed. Journal copies filed. Original in chambers. Hearing at 1:30 p.m. Caroline. Yes. You do not speak unless I indicate you. You do not react. You do not look at him. The court reporter will watch you. The judge will watch you. Your face is part of the record. Yes. And Caroline, yes. Wear something your mother would have liked. I hung up. I went to the wardrobe. I took out a navy cardigan my mother had given me for my 32nd birthday. It still carried the faint scent of her hallway cupboard. Cedar and old paper. I laid it across the chair. I went to bed at 9:30. I did not sleep. I did not need to. The county probate courtroom was modest. 2 rows of benches on each side, a raised bench at the front, a small flag in the corner, a ceiling fan that rotated slightly off axis, so it wobbled in a slow uncertain arc, the way a compass needle will when it's close to something it can't quite name. Judge Patricia Fenwick sat at the bench. She was 65, deliberate, practiced. She had the face of someone who had been weighing probate matters for 3 decades, and had learned not to let the room see the weighing. Garrett came in with his solicitor. The solicitor was from a practice 2 counties away. A man in a suit slightly too sharp for the room. Garrett wore a pressed button-down. He sat upright. He did not look at me. Garfield had 1 folder. Manila. Tabbed in blue along the side. He set it on the table. The solicitor for Garrett opened. He spent 13 minutes on the holographic instrument, calling it Rosemary's True Testament, and the typewritten will as the earlier executed instrument confirming her intention. He used the word intention 9 times. He called no witness. He sat. Garfield stood. He did not button his jacket. Your Honor, the petitioner has presented 2 instruments. We are prepared to demonstrate that neither survives basic statutory review. He opened the folder. Exhibit A, visitor record, certified copy. 43 of 44 evenings, Caroline Hargrove. 4 of 44, Garrett Hargrove. Read into the record. Exhibit B. Sandra Pelham called to give evidence. Sworn. 1 question. Over 8 weeks of Rosemary Hargrove's care. Who visited during evening hours? Caroline Hargrove. Every night I worked. 43 of 44. I was away the other evening. Step down. Exhibit C. Rosemary Hargrove's personal journal. 14 months. Authenticated in the testator's own hand and corroborated by the cross-reference visitor record. Exhibit D. Judith Canmore. Chaplain affidavit. Read into the record. 3 dated statements. Signed Notarist Current Commission. Exhibit E. Elaine Cordero, Forensic Document Examiner. Evidence by video. 14 minutes. Body of the holographic instrument. Highly inconsistent with Rosemary Hargrove's documented hand. Highly consistent with Garrett Hargrove's. Signature on the holographic instrument. Consistent with Rosemary Hargrove's, with tremor consistent with documented medication. Signature on typewritten will. Same tremor, same formation, same day as holograph signature, in her professional assessment. Exhibit F. Notary Commission lapse record. State Licensing Board. 9 months prior to the date of execution. Into the record. The submission took 44 minutes. Garfield sat down. He folded his hands. The solicitor for Garrett requested a recess. The recess was 20 minutes. I stood in the corridor with Garfield. He drank water from a cone-shaped paper cup and said nothing. Through the doorway at the far end of the hall, I could see Garrett and his solicitor in a low, strained exchange. Garrett's hand was on the solicitor's arm. The solicitor was removing it. Garrett's button-down had a small dark mark on the front panel from his palm. He had been sweating. The solicitor came back. He approached Garfield in the corridor. "We're prepared to stipulate to intestate distribution. Both instruments withdrawn. Estate passes by statute," Garfield said. "Your client may withdraw whatever he wishes. I will be making my closing on the record. I want the court's findings on these documents, not a private agreement that allows your client to avoid public scrutiny. The court goes on record or my client and I go home. Your choice." The solicitor looked at me. I looked at Garfield. Garfield did not look at me. The solicitor returned to the courtroom and spoke quietly to Garrett. Garrett's hand went to his face once and dropped. He nodded. Court reconvened. Judge Fenwick took 12 minutes. She had prepared her findings during the recess on the laptop at her bench. She read them in a measured, even voice. "The court has reviewed the petitioner's submissions and the respondent's exhibits. The court finds as follows. The instrument styled as a holographic will fails on its face. The body of the document is not in the testator's hand, pages 1 through 4, by clear and convincing evidence. The signature alone is insufficient under this state's holograph statute. The instrument is void. The court further finds that the typewritten instrument styled as a confirming will fails for improper execution. The notary whose stamp appears on the document held no valid commission on the date of purported execution. The witness signatures are unidentifiable and cannot be authenticated. The instrument is void. Both instruments are stricken. The estate of Rosemary Lorraine Hargrove shall pass by intestate succession under the laws of this state. The court takes no satisfaction in this finding. Takes no satisfaction in any of it. But the law on holographic instruments is precise for a reason." She stood. She left through the door behind the bench. The ceiling fan continued its slow, tilted arc. Garrett did not look at me. I did not look at Garrett. Garfield closed his folder. We did not celebrate in the corridor. We did not celebrate in the car park. Garfield tucked the folder under his arm. He shook my hand once. "Caroline, you won the case you needed to win. Yes. Don't go looking for one you don't. Yes. Go to your mother." I drove to the facility. Sandra was at the care station. She had been waiting. She said nothing. She walked with me down the corridor at a slower pace than I was walking, and when we reached room 408, she touched my shoulder once and stepped back. Judy was not there. Judy had told me the morning before. "I sit with the dying. I do not come to watch the proof of what they already understood." I would have been embarrassed for her if she had come. I think she knew that. Mom was sleeping. The afternoon light lay across her hands. I had the journal with me. Garfield had returned it after it was entered into evidence. I sat on the edge of the bed. I opened the journal to the last entry. The last entry was a Monday 10 days before. It read, "Caroline brought soup. Stayed past 9. I closed the journal. I placed it on her chest. I closed her hands around it. The journal weighed about as much as a small paperback. Her hands closed around it the way they used to close around a marker pen before a new term out of memory and habit. She did not open her eyes, but her hands knew what they were holding. I sat in the chair until evening. Sandra came in at 11. She adjusted Mom's blanket. She wrote the entry in the visitor log. Caroline Hargrove, 1:52 p.m. to present. Rosemary Hargrove resting comfortably. Her writing in the log was the same as it always was, the red ballpoint, not the black gel. I went home at 3 a.m. I left the journal on her chest. Her hands held it through the night. She passed 3 days later at 5:07 on a Sunday morning. Sandra was on shift. Sandra was the one who held her hand. The journal was still on her chest. Sandra removed it carefully, folded the front cover closed, placed it in the clear sealed bag the facility uses for personal effects, and carried it to the care station. She called me at 5:11. She let go. It was easy. "I'll be here when you come." I drove. I was 26 minutes. I sat with my mother. Sandra sat with me. We did not say much. The morning came up behind the building. The morning was the kind that comes quietly. The funeral was at a small firm 4 miles from the facility. 16 people came. Mom's 2 sisters. 4 women from her years of teaching, women in their late 60s in the kinds of cardigans they had worn to her retirement gathering. A neighbor. Diane. Garfield without his folder, in a dark suit, with his wife who had the same way of holding her chin as Mom did around photographs. Sandra. Judy, who led the service in a voice that did not waver. The organ in the room had not been tuned since spring. Someone played a hymn regardless. It was the one Mom had hummed at the kitchen window in 1991, washing the breakfast things. I remembered the morning. I remembered the sound. Garrett was there. He stood at the back. He wore a button-down. He did not come forward. He did not speak to anyone. He signed the attendance book. I saw him sign it. He used his natural hand. His G looped out past the line. After the service, Judy walked me to the car park. She had a folded note in her hand. Caroline. She left this for you. It's 10 days old. I wasn't certain of the right moment. I'm certain now. The note was 3 lines in Mom's hand. Slow but completely legible. Tell Caroline I knew. Tell Caroline I'm proud of who showed up. The word knew was underlined twice. Judy said she had written it on a Monday. She underlined it twice. I just want you to know which Monday. It was the Monday after the chapel. The day after I made the chaplain log entry. I put the note in my bag. I drove home. The estate took 5 months to settle. Intestate distribution in this state, 2 surviving children, no surviving spouse, equal halves. Garrett received approximately £310,000. I received approximately $310,000. Diane explained the arithmetic to me twice. The second time I followed it. The first time I had been thinking about Mom's journal, which I now keep on the second shelf of my bookcase, third from the left, between her old mark book and her copy of The Secret Garden. Garfield called me the day the final distribution cleared. Caroline. Yes. I want to be clear about something. Yes. You won the case you needed to win. You did not win the outcome some part of you might have wanted. The court does not exist to punish brothers. It exists to prevent the worst from occurring. The worst did not occur. He did not take her estate through a forged document. He received his legal share. That is the law. Yes. The law isn't poetic. It just stops the worst from happening. I know. Also. Yes. Don't appeal. Don't contest the distribution. Don't pursue him civilly for the cost of proceedings. You'd prevail. It would take 4 years. Your mother is not 4 years available to be remembered. I won't. Good. Thomas. Yes. I'm setting aside $12,000 for a resources fund at Fernfield Primary School, in her name. That's a good idea. Shall I handle the paperwork at cost? Send me the school contact. I sent it that afternoon. The fund is modest. It covers learning materials for 2 children in the lower years each year. The head teacher sends me a short note every September. The note comes on yellow legal pad. She was a former pupil of my mother's. She told me when we set the fund up. She taught me to form my letters, she said. I still write everything out by hand first. She signs her notes in the same soft red ink Sandra uses in the visitor log. I don't think the 2 of them have ever met. I think sometimes the world simply chooses the same color of pen for the things it means. I went back to my firm 3 weeks after the funeral. My colleagues said nothing. People who work in finance have a developed silence about other people's grief. They left a card on my desk. They did not watch me read it. That was the kindness. I kept the journal. I kept Sandra's log copies in a folder. I kept Judy's affidavit in a second folder. I kept Elaine's report in a third. The folders sit on the second shelf of my bookcase. I do not take them out. I know where they are. That is sufficient. 3 months after the funeral in January, Garrett sent a card. It came in a cream envelope. The return address was a post office box in a town I had never been to. He had not signed it Gaz the way he used to. He had signed it Garrett. His full name. In his own hand. I put it in the kitchen drawer. The shallow one where I keep the tape and the spare batteries and the takeaway menus I never look at. I did not open it. I have not opened it. It is still there. I expect I will throw it away one day. I expect that day will not be a significant one. I expect it will be a Tuesday in February when I am clearing the drawer out for some other reason entirely. I have not spoken to my brother. I expect I will not speak to my brother. I do not feel cruel about this. I do not feel righteous. I feel like a woman who has set something heavy down exactly where it belongs and walked on. Some boundaries don't need to be declared. They only need to be maintained. If this story stayed with you, leave one word in the comments. Just one. The word for what you think she earned. I'll read everyone. There is one more thing I haven't told yet about Sandra, the night nurse, and what she said to me at my mother's funeral. The link is below. I'll see you there. 2 years on. I drove back to the facility on a Thursday in early October. I had a paper bag of thermal socks. Sandra had called me the week before and mentioned the overnight ward was chronically short of them in the final stages of care. Feet go cold first, she said, and the unit budget never stretched to cover it. I brought 28 pairs. I bought them at the same school supply shop where my mother used to buy her mark books. Sandra was at the care station. She still had both pens. She was wearing reading glasses now. She took the bag with both hands and said, "Sweetheart, you really didn't have to." "I know," I said. "Sit a minute." I sat. We didn't say much. We never had. The pine cleaner smell was exactly the same. The hot water dispenser was exactly the same. It still took 2 presses. The second press still sounded like a small surprised exhale. I drove home at midnight. I took Route 7 because it was the way I knew. The amber blink at the Briarwood Junction was the same amber blink it had been at 3:19 in the morning the night Sandra had called me. The tarmac was the same wet tarmac, the smudging rain again. The light blinked. It had always been a traffic light. It had always been just a traffic light. I did not pull over. I did not cry. I drove in silence for a while and then I turned on the radio. There was a hymn playing on the late-night station, the one Mom had hummed at the kitchen window in 1991, and I let it run to the end. Then I drove the rest of the way home without the radio, and the quiet was its own kind of company. Some calls you spend the rest of your life being grateful for. I never told Sandra that directly. I think she already knows.